بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Okay, fine. So probably we'll go with one kind of scenario here. The scenario is like you will be given some kind of topology here, and each of these four switches are pre-configured with the host name, as well as it is going to run RSTP, and no configuration has been done. So, and it has given some options. So basically we have to figure out of these options which options are correct. Now to figure out that, the first thing we need to do is we need to decide the root bridge. Out of these four switches, who is the root bridge? And there's no changes done, which means we are going to verify the MAC addresses, and we'll be confirming that out of this one, if you see 0013, all have 0013, so which means the first four digits are same, then the next two digits are like 80 is also same, 803, so the 80C 80D is higher, so we'll ignore this too. So 8039 8030, so which is better? So which means this is going to be the root bridge. Now this is actually a root bridge, and mostly the shortest part will be the root ports, this one and this one, and every non-root bridge looks the best way to go to the root bridge. So in this case, basically this is there are two possible routes, and if you see the cost here, so we have an Ethernet link, Ethernet here, so the cost is 19 here, and if you see this is your gig link, so basically the cost is 4 and 4 here, so this is again 4. So if you see the cost, so this port is going to be the root port, so which means in this case this is going to be the root port here, and we are not 100% sure which ports will be in the blocking state, so most likely either this port or this port will be in the blocking state. Again, that we'll see depending upon the options. So we'll try to figure out what are the options given, because here it's not easy, figure out all the answers, but again you have to trim your answer according to the options given. Okay, so here the question is only asking about designated or the root ports, which means no blocking ports asked, so we don't need to really bother about the blocking ports in this case. So the options, anyway, you can see the correct answers here, but let's figure out why they are correct answers. So the first one is A. The switch D G0/2 will be the root port. Switch D G0/2 is a root port. So this is a root port, right? So this is the correct answer. So first I'll try to figure out the correct answers first, just to avoid confusions. And B is also a correct answer. And B says that switch A F0/2 is a designated port. So switch A, so this is your switch A, and F0/2 will be a designated port. So basically this port is a root port, which means most likely this port will be your designated port. Of course we have to figure out, I think this is a blocking port here. So this is your blocking port. Again, you have to figure out why this port is in the blocking, again based on the STP spanning tree conditions. So in the spanning tree conditions, this is the shortest path, this is the shortest path, of course this is having a better cost, so again it will see the cost. Okay, so as per the conditions here, so it's going to decide the forwarding port based on the cost. So the cost here is basically the cost will be 4 and 19. Of course it will see the opposite interface cost. If it sees, then basically the cost, this link, any one of the interface will be blocking. So typically the speeds are not the same, then this port is going to be in the blocking state here. So which means the option B says the switch A, this port is a designated port. Yes, it is a designated port if we consider this as a blocking port here. And the other options, one more option D also will just see the correct answer here. Switch A F0/1 will be the root port. Switch A, yeah, this is the shortest path, so obviously this is a root port here. So whereas if you try to figure out the wrong answers here, like we have seen the switch B G0/1 is a designated port. Now this is a switch B, G0/1 is not a designated port. See, the port can be either designated port or the root port. So the port cannot be in both. So in this option, this is not the correct answer because this G0/1 is actually a root port, which is not a designated port. It will be forwarding, but it's not a designated port. Now similar way, if you try to see the other two options here, the switch B G0/2 will be the root port. Now this is not the root port because the root port already, this is the root port here, so this is not the correct answer. and as well as the switch C is, switch C means this one. Okay, switch C is actually the root port. So it's F0/2 will be the root port. So basically, whichever the switch becomes a root, it will not have any root ports. Okay, so in this example, these ports will be in designated ports actually, but no root ports will be present on the root bridge. So which means this also is not the correct answer again. So typically you need to know some option here, the option of understanding the spanning tree behavior, and as per the given exhibit topology, you need to figure out the correct answers again. So again, you need to, if you understand the normal STB process, so basically you can figure out the options here.